If you're running a scam compound along the Thai-Burmese border or the Thai-Cambodian border, you're having to be increasingly selective about whom you're making the payments to, the amount of those payments and when you're making them, given that there's been a massive crackdown on these compounds, specifically along the Thai-Burmese and Thai-Cambodian border areas and also within Cambodia, where the amount of scam compounds has proliferated at an alarming rate over the past 12 to 24 months. But we have been learning what's been happening in these compounds, and a lot of people very surprised about the amount of money that's trafficked through these areas and the amount of human beings that are being trafficked through these areas as well. And a lot of information has come to light recently, which shows that specifically the Cambodian government have been less than forthright in the information they've been providing about the compounds on their side of the border. Welcome to our TNT program, a bit of an update on some of these scam centres. I've been rabbiting on about this particular issue for more than 2 years now, and it's good to see that some action is now being taken. A lot of it unreported, but there has still been plenty of reports over the past couple of months. From tech policy, as authorities crack down on scam compounds, victims are getting left behind. This one in Fortune, a national security problem and a homeland security problem. The world targets Southeast Asia's notorious scam centres. This from The Diplomat, cracking Southeast Asia's scam economy. And this one in Kiri Post, there's plenty of others. Experts urge Cambodia to target elite-linked kingpins in online scam crackdown. And one thing that's become increasingly apparent as the information becomes available are the confirmed links between Cambodian business people, government officials and members of the Cambodian government and these scam centres, scam compounds and the owners and operators of these compounds. Let's go to one particular of these compounds. It's called Royal Hill. Let's check that out. And the Royal Hill Resort and Casino, basically a front for a huge scam compound, was located in Osmash, which is just a dusty town on the Thai-Cambodian border. Right on the border, there's absolutely no reason to put anything there, especially a resort. It's not the sort of place that people would want to visit, unless you wanted to be close to the border so you could take advantage of internet and power operations from Thailand. Now, once it was a hub for huge scam operations, now it sits abandoned after being bombed by the Thai Air Force last year. It was a targeted bombing. Thousands of scammers have fled that compound, and where they're going, well, we don't really know. Some have fled across the Thai border. Many have been arrested and deported. One thing we do know, it was a major hub of scam operations, one of the biggest in Southeast Asia. Interestingly, although they fled, they left a lot of the operations intact inside, including thousands of computers, strangely, a lot of Macintosh computers, and they found rooms that were meticulously designed to look like Australian police stations, Singaporean police stations, so that people could sit there saying, now you're in trouble, if you don't pay me some money, then we're going to come and arrest you. And this is the way that some of the scam operators were working. Increasingly sophisticated. Now, sadly, AI is going to make a lot of this peripheral theatrics obsolete, and they will become much more efficient at extracting the money from you by pretending to be people that you may know or authorities from your country. Now, apart from giving people the impression they were talking to authorities in their own countries, there were plenty of other scams going on, including crypto scams, investment scams, love scams. There were detailed scripts left behind, which included detailed dossiers of a lot of the people they were scamming, sometimes not just over days and weeks, but over months, as they were building sophisticated relationships that the people on the other side of the camera believed were real. They found logs of cryptocurrency wallets, numbers of cryptocurrency wallets, the amount of money in those wallets, and there were scripts for impersonating people in all sorts of countries, not just America and Australia and the UK and Europe, but people in Southeast Asian countries and people in China. Now, many of the people scammed don't come forward for whatever reason. It might be a small amount of money, or they just don't want the publicity. They just don't want the shame and attention it might bring to them. But there were a couple of specific cases. There was a 73-year-old Japanese man and an American woman. And they came to the police and they were able to provide information that did help the police identify exactly where the scams were coming from. Now, Reuters have been following this through, as well as some of the government agencies, specifically from China, the United States, Japan and South Korea. And they've really been leading a lot of the investigations and some of the early crackdowns on these scam centres, particularly based around Cambodia and other parts of Southeast Asia. Now, in the case of the 73-year-old Japanese retiree, he thought he was being contacted by an official from the local electricity company with a threat to cut off his electricity supply. Now, under pressure, he did eventually provide his bank details. There's a lesson to be learnt there. I'll get to that in a moment. But he let slip, he said, some details, some private details, which then allowed them to access his bank. And, well, you know the rest. I mean, the lesson here is never, ever share your private information online with anybody. The best thing we could do, and I'll share some more ideas at the end of this video, is just get offline as much as we can, because there are dangers lurking and temptations lurking, and you will one day be confronted with one of these scammers. Now, if you think, oh, it'll never happen to me, it's happened to hundreds of thousands of people. In the US alone, they believe that over the last couple of years, some $15 billion has been scammed out of American citizens. Now, there's no doubt that the international spotlight has been on Southeast Asia over the past couple of years. But just because there's been a huge crackdown and a lot of publicity recently, and, well, some bombing out of existence of some of these compounds, that they're not just going to close down and go, oh, well, you know, we had a good time and we'll go back to our whatever jobs they were doing before. These scammers are going to just put their computers under their arms and go somewhere else where the spotlight isn't quite as intense at the moment. And things like AI are just making it increasingly easy to completely flood social media and messaging apps with messages you just don't know where they've come from. You might think that you're talking with somebody that you know, but these days you just don't know. The impersonations have become so sophisticated that many people are being duped. And you might be thinking, oh, no, I'll never get duped. Well, clearly you are, and others are, because there is so much money involved in this operation that it will be continuing. So you need to be very vigilant and alert. Now, even if we go back 3 to 6 months, the Cambodian government were officially downplaying their role, or the role of government officials and business leaders in these scam centres. But in 2024 and 2025, NGOs, government departments, and also investigations by US agencies have shown that almost half, some 40 to 50% of Cambodia's GDP was being generated by these scam centres. And as the information comes out, it just gives us more links between these scam operations and officials in the Cambodian government, and also business leaders, people running banks, for example, facilitating the movement of the monies in Cambodia and out of Cambodia. Now, we've found out in the last couple of weeks that the operations in this Royal Hill resort, after it was occupied by the forces, had plenty of paperwork that was providing links to bank accounts and emails to certain officials. And despite the claims by the Cambodian government that the Royal Hill Resort was really just a resort and a casino, well, it's now proven that it is anything but. It was one of the biggest scam centres in Southeast Asia. We've also learnt that despite the chaos caused by these scam centres around the world, within the scam centres it was actually quite orderly, and there were rules of conduct. They were told they couldn't walk around shirtless. They were told that they had to, between each other, be civil and have civilised behaviour. The site managers enforced military-style anti-riot drills. And if the scammers didn't reach certain performance levels. In other words, if they didn't scam enough people or get enough money, they were sometimes put into solitary confinement. Sometimes they were tortured. Now, some of these people who were held against their will to work in these scam centres in recent years were able to escape, and there's now quite a lot of documents with details about how these scam centres were operating and how the people held against their will inside were treated. So where does this leave you and me? It would be great to think that with all this recent publicity and all these evacuations from scam centres and these crackdowns from the Chinese government, the Thai government, the Burmese government and the Cambodian government, you'd like to think, well, maybe we can get back to our computers and social media and not have to worry as much. I would say the opposite is the situation. These scammers, I think, would be more desperate now to re-establish their operations. They will move. They'll move to other countries where there isn't a spotlight. They might even move back into their homes because you can operate these scam centres from your very own home. You just have to be very, very careful who you're speaking to online. Just don't answer emails if you don't know who they're from. Unless you've initiated the email, just don't respond. Same on social media. If somebody says, oh, hi, I'd like to be your friend, you've probably got enough friends and you don't need another one, especially if they're a scammer and they're coming after your money. All I can suggest, and I've done this myself, is just be increasingly vigilant anytime you're online, because once you're swimming around in the water, you're basically in the shark's dining room. So be very careful online. Here I am talking to you online. Have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you next time.